This is Tech Tuesday, where we shine the spotlight on a trending theme in the world of technology and gain a better understanding of where trends are leading in the world of tech investment. This is Tech Tuesday, presented by the Canadian Securities Exchange. Thank you to everyone online for joining us live today for this week's edition of Tech Tuesday. Today's session, Women's Health Tech. Presented by the CSE, the exchange for entrepreneurs and the world's fastest growing small cap stock exchange for the last 15 years. This session was partially sponsored by US Angels and John Ritchie. John is founder and managing director of US Angels, an angel investor group based out of Silicon Valley, and director of portfolio management of Keotech Technology and Life Science, an investment firm with over 75 active portfolio companies. Today, we are pleased to have three companies join us. Rachel Bartholemew, founder and CEO of Hyivy. Valérie Léveillé, founder and CEO NexPlasmaGen, and Professor Ehud Davidson, chairman of the board, Zero Candida. Mark Francis is this week's moderator, and this represents today's lineup. Our objective in running Tech Tuesday is twofold. First, for companies to gain visibility and traction on an accessible platform. The second is to inform capital markets, players, and investors about these types of companies in the tech space while also providing new knowledge of what is happening in the world of women's health tech. As you know, we are entering the month of November, which focuses on men's health. But we feel that it's important at the CSE to recognize all health. And so I'm proud to be a member of the CSE and letting us do this show that does dive into women's health tech. A very, very neglected, underfunded, undertreated, which has only started to gain attention over the last, say, 5 to 10 years. So thank you to the CSE, thank you to Mark Francis, and of course, thank you to the companies that are participating. As for you, the attendees, we do ask that you share your ideas, leads, possible funding, and feedback with our presenters. You may even have a potential strategic relationship. You can find their exact information in the profile box below. With respect, we might refrain from giving management advice unless we are truly experts in the company's particular field, and don't treat our presenting companies as marketing targets for services. Some housekeeping matters. If the images aren't clear or incomplete, check your bandwidth, refresh your screen, call your IT, or try a different platform as we are broadcasting on YouTube, LinkedIn, and AirMeet. This presentation is for information purposes only and is not a solicitation to make an investment in either shares or debt or to buy or sell stock. We make no representation about these companies, and if you are interested in the investor pitch, please connect with the companies directly in order to get detailed information. After each company will have 5 minutes to present, and after which we will move to the Q&A. Rachel Bartholemew is a two-time entrepreneur who is now working on her second company, Hyivy, Hyivy Health, created after her recent fight with cervical cancer. Hyivy Health is creating a pelvic rehabilitation device for the 1 in 3 women worldwide who will experience a pelvic health complication in their lifetime. Rachel is a graduate of the University of Waterloo and has been working in various roles in the entrepreneurship ecosystem for the past 10 years.
Hello, my name is Rachel Bartholemew. I am from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, and I'm the CEO and founder of Hyivy Health. 60 million women in North America are dealing with an overly tight, scarred, and dense pelvic floor, where her symptoms are extreme pelvic pain from these conditions that impact a woman's overall quality of life. And I know this personally because I was diagnosed with cervical cancer at the age of 28 years old. The only solutions for relief from these symptoms are these painful static dilators, which were created over 84 years ago, or seeing a pelvic floor physiotherapist, which can have an up to 7-year-long waiting list. Women deserve better than this. Hyivy Health has created the first data-driven pelvic rehab system consisting of a multi-therapy medical device conducting 3 therapies at once while tracking the first ever measurable and actionable data on the pelvic floor, which is reported to our patient mobile app and a software portal for clinicians. We have a first mover advantage through the implementation of our first set of biosensors, which are collecting a multi-objective data set paired alongside subjective self-reported data to better understand each woman's unique situation with personalized treatment protocols. Through our testing, our device was 100% preferred from the static dilators, with outcomes including a decrease in muscle tension, bladder symptoms and irritation, as well as an increase in natural lubrication, bowel and bladder movements, and a tolerance for sexual activity post-treatment. For our target physicians and practitioners, we reduce the cost to treat patients and time to clinical outcomes while improving follow-up care and decision-making. We also help convert physios' 7-year-long waiting lists into active patients while providing new revenue channels through virtual therapy sessions. We sell the device as a service to patients for $150 per month with CPT code reimbursement and an average savings of $2,400 annually. We also have a subscription to the clinician software for $99 a month, which enables therapists to double their revenues with remote patient monitoring fees. We are the only data-driven multi-therapy device on the hypertonic pelvic floor market, using real-time data to drive personalized pelvic health outcomes and measure the unmeasurable for doctors and clinicians. We have 3 high-severity long-term device use patient groups with the 8 million women with vaginismus and dyspareunia, where we will be applying for a 510(k) with the FDA where no clinical evidence is needed due to predicates. We will then be expanding our on-label use with the FDA and a full Health Canada application in the 5 million women with endometriosis and 1.9 million women with pelvic-based cancers. To reach our patient population targets, we'll be relying on recommendations and the prescription of our device from the 5,400 pelvic floor physiotherapists, 1,500 cancer centers, and 47,000 OBGYNs in North America. We are a team of 6 full-time, 6 part-time, and 6 researchers, and we are supported by a number of leaders in gynecology and pelvic medical research. We're also advised by a number of successful healthcare and engineering experts who've been in their trade for up to 50 years. We're just over 2 years old, and we have about 950 patients and 91 clinicians in focus groups. We have over 6 different clinical trials at various stages across Canada and the US. We filed for our utility and design patents. We're executing on our Class 2 regulatory pathways with Health Canada and FDA. We're currently manufactured fully 100% in Canada, and we've raised over $2.6 million in private pre-seed and non-dilutive funding. And our goals for this year and the coming year is we will be raising a $2.5 million round to get us commercially ready to launch in 3 of our target patient groups with a fully regulated, certified, and clinically validated product, with a planned alpha launch in Canada and then a beta launch in 5 states in the US in 2024.
Dr. Valérie Léveillé is the founder CEO of NexPlasmaGen Incorporated. She is co-inventor of the technology developed by NexPlasmaGen. Since she received a PhD in chemical engineering from McGill University, she has patented and brought disruptive technologies from the lab to the marketplace. And of course, to Tech Tuesday.
So hello, everyone. My name is Valérie Léveillé. I'm the CEO and founder of the company NexPlasmaGen, dedicated to oncology. And one of the first applications we want to do is to reduce the cancer recurrence using reactive ionized gas, which is called plasma, to destroy the invisible cancer cells that are located in the surgical cavity after the tumor is removed. So the breast cancer, it's really now one of the most diagnosed female cancer in the world. There's a lot of death every year that's happening. And even though we're using the standard of care, there's up to 20% of recurrence after 2 years. Just to give you some number, in USA, when the cancer comes back, it's an average of $1.5 million in average cost per hospital. And for the total healthcare system, it's about $3 billion. And for the patient, we're talking about $12,000 of income lost plus out-of-pocket expense. So the standard of care, there's the local treatment and the systemic treatment. We are focusing on the local treatment and especially the lumpectomy, also called breast conserving surgery. So when the surgeon operates the patient, they remove the tumor, the solid tumor, but they leave around the tumor a clear margin of negative cells, so healthy cells, to make sure that they remove everything. And then they close the patient, and the operation is finished. But even if the standard of care is used, there's still recurrence at stage 1, 5%, stage 2, it's getting bigger, 10%, and even 20% at stage 3, and with related survival rate that are decreasing. So NexPlasmaGen, we want to improve the standard of care by adding a technology that's going to destroy the invisible cancer cells, as you can see in the small schematic here, where we have the tumor bed, and we have here the local multifocal or invisible cancer cell. We're going to treat them so that when the surgeon finishes operation, we will be able potentially to decrease the recurrence rate here. And we're targeting at 6.5% because this is what our data show in the past. So the breast cancer market, if we do a bottom-up analysis using the existing CPT code that are similar to our technology application, it's about $4,000. And if we're looking at the number of surgery per year globally or US, we end up with the $5.7 billion market for global, and in USA about $0.8 billion. And it's located 15% in US, Canada, 39% in the Asia region, and 28% in Europe. We will tackle first the Canada and US region. So this is our technology that we develop. It's patented, it's safe, effective, portable, and versatile. This is the control unit, and this will be the applicator used by the surgeon. And at the tip, you can see a plasma jet. This is what's touching the tumor bed. And it's going to be used by the surgeon in a non-invasive way, about 15 minutes during the operating room to kill the cancer cell in the tumor bed. So we've done a 4 years preclinical trial program. We started with 12 different breast cancer cells. We move on to triple negative breast cancer cell. We did 3D model of the tumor. We treated them. And at the end, I'm showing you the latest result with mice. So we've done a lot of data on mice, and we used the standard of care, which is just a lumpectomy versus plasma treatment. And when we did that on mice, we found out that there were 6.5% of the tumor site where there were no recurrence at all with the plasma. Again, this is the minimum we're trying to achieve on human. If we're looking at the tumor bed where the tumor grew back, with the plasma, we're able to reduce by more than 50% the volume of the tumor that we grew. So this means that we can potentially slow down the disease as well. So in terms of a competitive advantage, NexPlasmaGen is a plasma. We have cancer versatility. We have a special resolution, so because it's a few millimeters that we can apply, we have not foreseen side effects on mice, and it's very easy to use and efficient because we have proven it on mice trials. There's another competitor called US Medical Innovation based in US. They use plasma as well, but we have not foreseen their preclinical data on breast cancer showing removal rate as recurrence rate reduction as we did, as well as the cancer type versatility that we have with our patent. And there's another technology in US, it's Intra-Up, the company. It's a radiation technology. Mobitron is the technology. It doesn't have a special resolution because it's treating several centimeter wide by several centimeter depth. It has recognized side effects and secondary effects, and it's very expensive and complex. So these are the main competitors we're looking after with our technology. Our roadmap for commercialization. So this year, the only thing left that we have to do is to get the approval from Health Canada to get our technology used on human. We have already for 2023 a fully funded safety clinical trial ready to go with the team in place. And once we get our pre-seed round, we will be able to grow the team, design and build a commercial unit, and plan the marketing and manufacturing. So by 2024, we will do clinical trial in US and Canada for efficacy this time. And we will also market the device as a de novo route because it's a completely new technology without predicates. And we will market launch the product so that by 2025, we will have our first manufacturing, first sales in US and Canada. And as soon as this is done, we're going to look at the other cancer so that we can also benefit the other the patient with other cancer. Our team is myself. I'm a chemical engineer, 15 years experience, BD and IP protection, quality system, everything needed in a company. We have the CHUM that are also with us as a partner. The CHUM is one of the largest cancer hospital in Canada. We have also designers working with us, 13 investors super involved, and sponsors from the federal and provincial government that are with us since the inception of the company, including the Breast Cancer Foundation of Quebec. We have also advisors. Terrific advisor. We have the chief surgical oncologist at the CHUM, Erika Petoskay, Dr. Wong at the Princess Margaret Hospital in Ontario. We also have Mr. Gabouri, which is a leading pathologist in Quebec for research in immunology and cancer. And for business advisors, we have David Offer, which is now the VP MedTech at General Inception, but prior to that, he was the Business Development Director at Covidien, Ologic, as well as Suede Suzuki, that is Managing Partner at Quebec Venture in Ontario. So thank you for your time, and I'm open for your questions.
Professor Ehud Davidson is the CEO of the largest health maintenance organization, MHO, in the state of Israel. Clalit, which holds 52% of market share, led the treatment of the majority of Israeli patients in the community, as well as in Clalit hospitals. He also led the huge projects of COVID-19 vaccination in Israel, which were very successful. Over to you, Professor.
Hello, I'm Professor Ehud Davidson from Israel, and I serve as the chairman of Zero Candida. So the problem is that we are talking about a very common disease. It's a fungal infection of the vagina, causes a lot of irritation, discharge, and even aches during having sex. So this is a picture of the women sexual system, showing where Candida is located, actually all over the vagina, very well spread, which is, by the way, the reason why it's so difficult to address. Here we want to understand why various therapeutic measures have failed again and again. The main way of treating vaginal candidiasis nowadays is using a small tampon with some kind of medicine. But actually it does not work so well. And women come again and again with this illness, which causes a lot of discomfort, sometimes even causes women not to go to work, stay at home, and suffer a lot. So the market is huge. We are talking about 3 out of 4 women that at some point in their lifetime would suffer from candidiasis. It occurs again and again and affects actually hundreds of millions of women all over the world. So market is huge. Our solution is actually taking advantage of what we studied in the medical literature of the effect of light beam. Actually, it's a blue light beam with a certain wavelength that has therapeutic effect and that kills Candida. It also covered with current therapeutic measures like Agisten or existing antifungal treatment, and therefore there is a potentiation of the effect of both measures that we combine together. So this is our steps ahead. You can see that we've just started our crowdfunding here in Israel, and we are going further according to these slides. You can see it quite well in the slides that is presented here. We have a very interesting board here. First of all, we have 2 very interesting doctors. Both of them are head of gynecology and maternity departments in leading hospitals in Israel, one in Meir Medical Center, the other one in Beilinson Medical Center. You probably understand that being a woman and having a great career in the medical field is not that simple. So we admire these 2 doctors that joined us. We have here Dr. Zeytoun, which is the chief scientist of the company and takes care of all the experiments in vitro right now, in vivo next, that we intend to do. And there is Dr. Susan Alpert, who helps us with all kinds of the way to get to the FDA and all the needs for registration of our product in the FDA. Here are more people of our that are part of our team. Dr. Asher Holzer and Mr. Eli Ben Haroush are the two actually entrepreneurs that started the firm. They were thinking about the idea several years, but have only lately, like a year and a half, started this company and decided that the way they are firm, they decided that this time we are going to come with a solution and solve this problem that is really troubling so many women all over the world. These are the board members. On the left side, he's Mr. Ben Haroush, and then Dr. Holzer. I was telling you all about them. These are the professionals that work with us, engineer, electronics, and microbiology people that everybody contribute their part and their profession to come up to the next step, which is having the prototype ready for various or for future experiments. So this is a very short presentation. We are actually at our seed round, currently raising $1.5 million on crowdfunding in Israel and on the way to public in Canada. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, all three of you, for excellent presentations, Rachel, Ehud, and Valerie. So my first question, and it's a pretty common question for All Tech Tuesday, is to ask you to tell us about how the aha moment first occurred and what you did immediately after that to start on the path forward. And let's go with Rachel, Ehud, and Valerie.
For me, it was really my own personal diagnosis and story. I was on bed rest. I had connected with a bunch of Facebook groups of women, and everyone was screaming from the rooftops about how poor the current solution was. And as I started to dig into it and realized it was, 84 years old, I was like, okay, I'm an innovator. I can do this. I can take this on and dive in a little further and take it on. So that was my big aha moment.
And what did you do immediately after that?
Research. I took on secondary research first, and then I actually used the Facebook groups to ask questions to validate a lot of primary research that I needed to fill before I started to create something that could solve this problem.
So the two entrepreneurs that started Zero Candida actually explored the issue of candidiasis for several years now due to women complaints. And only lately, like a year or a year and a half ago, came to the idea that actually there's no real working solution to this very common problem, and decided to start this company.
So for my side, it was back then when I was a student at McGill University as a PhD, working in the lab until midnight. I was in plasma field, so I was developing a plasma tool, microscopic. We were one of the first team to try it out on cells, and it was beautiful to see different reaction on cells with the plasma, which is a light by itself that illuminate in this blue purple. So when I saw some effects on cells, I was really enlightened. And when I went back to the research, I saw that there were 100 papers saying that plasma can kill cancer. But then I was, okay, and then what's the next step? Mice and human, and zero. So I said, that's it. We need to start a company so that we can move this from the lab, in vitro cell, to mice and eventually human. And this is where we are today with the clinical trial for the plasma, non-thermal plasma. So the immediate action is to build a company to make it happen.
Well, you've led right into my next question, Valerie. So in what order did you build your team, Valerie, Rachel, and Ehud?
Well, starting as a student, I was alone. And then I was very, very impatient, so I incorporate the company. And then what I did is I bootstrapped. So I'm a technical person. So I surrounded myself with technical people. And at each milestone, I add somebody. And only when the business was starting to make shape, like results were good, then we hire business people. So I'm really step by step as needed to make the company very lean. So that's how I work to build the company.
Yeah, for us, it was reaching out to a couple friends who were engineers to really help me conceptualize what product could look like, as well as subsequently running through the medical side. So I largely come from the business side. So I really needed the medical translation of what we were working on into product and how product can use that medical information to really create something valuable. So for us, it was building out that engineering, building out the medical and clinical side, and then slowly transitioning into more of the marketing and business support.
So we started with a gynecologist. I was talking about two leading ladies gynecologists who treat patients on a daily basis and understand the suffering, wishing to have the best medicine to offer them. And then came more professionals, people like engineers, people in electronics, and of course, people in microbiology. Very important because we're talking about a combat against fungus. This is the way we arrange our stuff.
Very good. Now, in that process, of course, mistakes are made. So tell us, Valérie, let's go the same order. Tell us about a mistake you made and what you did to correct it.
Okay, again, when I was a student, so we're very excited. We're like, oh my God, this is amazing first result with our own plasma. So we're going to publish. So we were ACP. I was the first person in the lab to build, in my director lab. So we need to build credibility. So we produced our first paper, which was the top 10 in one of the high impact journal in plasma. And but the thing is that, wait a minute, I want to start a company. So what about IP? So what happened is that we were academic at that time. We published, and soon after I said, so but what's going to happen? So the patent agent said to us, well, you can still patent with US provisional, US Canada, but you're going to be located there only for your first patent. So that was my first mistake. And you bet I learned for the second patent. I said, nobody published until I put that patent application down. So that was my first big early mistakes.
For me, so this is my second company. So I actually made a lot of my mistakes on the first one and learned for the second one. But I think the biggest one that I've made throughout, Hyivy has been being protective of my time and spending a lot of time with mentors and programs and all of these things where you're going to get all sorts of different pieces of advice that are going to steer you in all different directions. And that really takes away from time working on the business and working on your strategy and the things that really matter.
Well, for us, the mistake is very simple. We just are delayed by like 5 years. So the idea came 5 or 6 years ago, but we decided to establish the company only a year or a year and a half ago. So actually, if we were establishing it 5 years ago, we could be in the market now and could help ladies right now. So this is the mistake. It was corrected by finally establishing the firm and start looking how we can get to the result as soon as possible.
Always appreciate the frankness that each of you show, and entrepreneurs generally will show that frankness. So I really appreciate that. I'm sure the listeners do as well. So Ehud and then Valérie and Rachel, there are a number of services that help companies that are doing clinical trials. Are you using any external services at this time to manage clinical trials, or are you thinking about doing that in the future?
Well, we are using medical laboratories We started in one laboratory, then decided to turn to another one because we felt that it was not that professional and answering our questions. What's important to understand that we have this chief scientist, Dr. Zeytoun, who is in charge of everything that is going on there, who is monitoring the activities of this laboratory on a daily basis. So we are sure and very sure about the results, which have to be well scientifically proven. It's very important for us, all of us being, doctors and people of science, and we need that everything will be what we say according to regulations, according to what is reasonable to be confirmed by by authorities and so on. Right now, I'm talking about Israeli authorities, but later on, of course, American, Canadian, and European, and so on.
For NexPlasmaGen, for preclinical trial, I'm a chemical engineer, as I mentioned before, so I'm not the one who's going to run the trial, even at the mice level or the in vitro cells. So basically, the SHRM was my contractor, an external contractor for preclinical trial. I let them white card, but as long as the objective was super clear, what we're trying to accomplish here is to mimic what we will have on the patient in the clinical. Now we're moving to the clinical trial. Again, I like this third party to stay in place. They know what they do. I get the objective. And on top of that, we have a contract research organization to really make sure that the quality of the data are excellent and management is also good. So I intend to do that also for the next trial in efficacy in US and Canada as well.
For us, it was, reaching out to universities. So we have 6 different universities running 6 different various clinical trials at various stages. I think the most important piece, as Valerie kind of mentioned, is the CRO or some sort of third-party clinical monitor to essentially make sure that there's no bias, that things are going as planned, that adverse events are being monitored. So I think that was a big piece for us. And of course, I don't know if these are entities, but the funding piece of it, the Canadian government for us has been a huge, huge part of funding the trials and helping get the research off the ground. And so I can't not give them a shout out in terms of helping facilitate and get clinical trials in market.
Very good. So each of you have very robust technical teams. And one of the things that entrepreneurs do these days and have for 20 years is to employ part-time technical staff as well. But you have to keep their attention. It can be hard to attract that talent. And then keeping it is also the challenge. So tell us a bit about the mechanisms you plan on using for keeping the talent that you will need, especially a lot of it being part-time, who are focusing on other projects as well. And as you grow and enlarge your business. So let's go with Rachel, Ehud, and Valerie.
Yeah, so all of our technical team is full-time, and then even the researchers that we have working in the technical field are we're supporting their studies as well as employment, and then with the hopes of having them come on full-time. I think part of it is culture. Making sure that we have a really fun culture, that my team is not just engineering and product focused, they're involved in everything and they get to be, at the table with investors, to, working in the lab, to going to the universities for the trial sites. And, I really took on the COVID mentality of working from home and being hybrid and having that ability to come into the office as you please versus, working from home. And that really helps create a really flexible and open working environment.
In my case, I'm, by the way, used to take care of talents in all my career, being CEO of huge health organizations in Israel. And talents always present a huge issue. I think that there are two answers to that. Number one would be to attach talents to your vision and to the goals of the company or the organization that you are leading. It's important that they understand what we are facing, what is the challenge that we are facing, and to have them take part in understanding the challenge as well as the solution. Number two would be more of economical solution. I mean, I think the talents have to have a part of the options of a company, and so they feel that they are part of the stuff, and it's their own. It's not only that they are like, people that work for other people and for other people, getting value for other people. They are getting value for themselves as well. So these are the two approaches that I suggest how we should take care of talents.
I'm going to take your advice, Ehud, because obviously I don't have your experience in the retention of talents. But for me, if I take my personal experience, it's really passion that drives me. So I like to surround myself with people that are passionate from the get-go, so that no matter what's happening, we're going to do it together and we're going to go through it. So far, we have the same team since the last 4 years at the hospital and in the labs. And I just want to show to them also that I'm an engineer as well, and I put my hand into the dough and I make it happen too. And we're horizontal so that there's no hierarchy. And I found out that this transparency really brings us quickly, and nobody's ashamed of saying anything. And sometimes I'm wrong and they're telling me, and I'm happy they told me very, very early so we can switch things. So that's it. Horizontal and passion are what I think kept my team with us. Going forward, 2023, raising a pre-seed and completing the team at the company, that's going to be another challenge, because now it's not anymore only technical people. It's going to be business people with other field. And what I'm going to do is, as before with all the other employees, I'm going to try to plan it 6 months ahead of time to get the right person on time and be ready. So that's how I think I'm going to work it out.
Very good. And of course, the other piece of the puzzle is everyone wants to be part of something that's driving forward. And the only plug I'll make in this Q&A about finance is that each of you are trying to raise capital. And once you have that capital, of course, that does allow you to do more. And then your technical team gets to be part of more and be driving faster and harder. So that, but good answers from all of you. Going to shift a little bit to external. Each of you will have an education hurdle, both with users and with clinicians. And I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about what you see as those challenges and how you intend to address those. So let's go with Ehud, Valérie, and Rachel.
I believe that basically there are no hard hurdles here regarding our product. Since we are talking about a product that is similar to products that already exist and that women are using them on a regular basis. On the other hand, one have to understand that there is here a new approach, and therefore an educational steps should be taken. We believe that with the help of doctors that convince women about the efficacy or the efficiency of the product. And by the way, I know it in Israel. I don't exactly know how it works in other countries. Here, people really believe in their doctors. This is one of the advantages of this country. People would do whatever doctor tells them to do. By the way, that we experienced that during COVID time, when doctors told people to go, for instance, and get their vaccination, they did. So doctors are actually I think, the strongest way of educating people. And once they believe in the product, it would be easier for them to make their patients believe.
On my end, since the technology is called plasma technology, my big hurdle every time I'm showing up to a surgeon or radiologist, plasma, the blood thing? No, plasma, the gas thing, So I have to educate them that it's the fourth state of the matter. It is extremely active, short-lived, but room temperature. So that's the scientific education that I always have to do with any user, surgeon or radio-oncologist, or even a normal doctor. And because of their language already inside of them. And the second one is this technology is handheld. We made a choice to not make it robotic right away because the surgeon wanted to feel it like a scalpel. And it's going to be to educate them that the efficacy of this device is really depending on the time and the placement you're putting. So there will be an educational stage where they're going to have to really use it at the maximum, the maximum way to optimize the treatment. So that's going to be our second, I would say, not a hurdle, it's a challenge, but with good trainings and good materials, we will be able to bring that to the surgeon.
Where do I even begin? Women's health has largely been ignored, under-researched, underfunded, underserved. I'm constantly having to educate investors to, patients about what pelvic floor is, and a lot of the research has only come out within the last 5 years. And when I say pelvic floor and gynecology, people often go Kegels and electrostimulators and vaginal rejuvenation. And these are things that could make our target populations very, very sick and ill. And so really going through the educational piece from even our MDs and GPs all the way to patients who have large stigma, who can't even talk about these things, to Facebook just allowing the word pelvis and basic human anatomy be accepted on social media advertisements. There's a long way to go in terms of education and breaking down these barriers for half of the world's population. Women's health is not niche as much as people think it is.
Very good. And our final question for today. What is your next milestone? Not financial, but what is your next scientific / development milestone? And let's go with Rachel, Valerie, and Ehud.
So getting through our clinical trials. So we have two trials, one in endometriosis, one in cancer. These are kind of a combination of phase 1 and 2 clinical trials. And I'm just sitting here holding my breath, waiting to see what the results will be and hoping that they're going to be good ones.
Same thing for me. So it's going to be our first in-human clinical trial, fully funded. The team is in place. Everything is good, starting in 2023. So it's a big milestone to prove safety and then efficacy afterwards. And for me, for sure, as soon as I can, I'm going to go into the operating room to see it because I'm allowed to do the training and all that. So for me, it's going to be an amazing experience also to see really how it's used by the surgeon and how we can make it more efficient.
So for us, number one would be to continue our in vitro trials. And of course, we are going to create our prototype in order to be able to approach the in vivo trials.
Very good. Well, thank you to all three of you. Ehud Davidson, Zero Candida. Thank you, Valérie Léveillé from NexPlasmaGen, and Rachel Bartholemew, Hyivy Health. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our presenters, Rachel Bartholemew, founder and CEO, Hyivy, Valérie Léveillé, founder and CEO, NexPlasmaGen, and Professor Ehud Davidson, chairman of the board, Zero Candida. Thank you to the people who have worked behind the scenes, James Black, Melissa Robertson, and of course, the founder and creator of Tech Tuesday, Mark Francis. Next, a thank you to John Ritchie and the network at US Angels. And lastly, thank you to our attendees for taking a slice out of your day to learn and support the companies on Tech Tuesday. Go to these companies' websites to learn more about them and their projects. If you have a lead for them, please do connect. Next Tuesday, we'll be bringing you another company showcase. You won't want to follow, click, like on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and may you have continued and healthy success in expanding your business. Thank you, and see you at the next episode.